Hi everyone, welcome to my review of The Return of the Pink Panther in 1975. Of course, once again directed by Blake Edwards, and of course, starring the one and only Peter Sellers. Here is a Blu-ray, of course. I actually had to buy this, a couple of weeks ago. I thought I had this somewhere, but I thought no, it's not there. It must be missing or something. Since I moved and everything, so I just got it on Blu-ray. It was fairly cheap, and yes, this is a film. Of course, really, and actually, of course, I did film this review a few days ago, and it was about 20 minutes, and unfortunately I actually deleted it. So yeah, this is another review, of something I've already done. So yeah, in that sense, I'll maybe keep it a bit shorter, so I'm not, spending like 40 minutes on one film where, actually I don't have loads to say. Maybe I was a bit repeating myself anyway. But yeah, I don't want to do, a massive review again. So it'll be quite short. And actually today it works out quite better because today I watched Strikes Again and Revenge of the Pink Panther all in one day. Rewatched, of course. So now I've kind of finished the main, Pink Panther films, Peter Sellers ones, which to me are the Pink Panther films. So yes, of course I'll be reviewing them in the next few days, all of them. And here we are, the film really that started. It was as it was a franchise. It returned, of course, after 11 years, shot in the dark, which again wasn't really meant to be, a kind of true Pink Panther film and stuff. And yes, it's actually for me the best, by far. After rewatching Strikes Again, not quite as in moments, maybe it's because I didn't watch it all, when I was a kid and stuff. But definitely after the first 45, 50 minutes, that film, it does have some sags in the middle. The Shot in the Dark is just almost flawless as a comedy throughout. This film actually is really, really good. I think it's actually better. It's grown on me basically. I think I used to prefer Strikes Again. By far. Now this one's kind of on that level for me. I think this, of course, Blake Edwards returning, and this one is kind of it's very different, but very similar as well. Christopher Plummer this time around, instead of David Niven playing the Phantom, and you see the kind of a very, very good, great opening scene actually, sequence of kind of this heist where the Pink Panther is stolen and stuff. And yes, Christopher Plummer is not really the true villain of the film. It's very, very complicated without spoiling it. But I think and actually maybe a bit convoluted. I'm not sure, but I think basically it involves him and stuff, and he's got his partner at this house and stuff, and then Peter Sellers comes across them in the film, and towards the end of the film, actually where Christopher Plummer and the character is at his best in the film. That's when they kind of all come together. The threads come together. Of course, Herbert in this film. What I love about this film as well is Dreyfus. The plot of him. This is where it's before Strikes Again, where he's actually locked up for doing stuff. And this one is really where you see, you kind of see the most compelling stuff with his storyline, where he's about to go completely insane, and you see that the most growth really across the film, and it's just hilarious. Kato as well, once again returning, great as well. I think after rewatching again, The Revenge of the Pink Panther, maybe it didn't quite work out what they'd done with him in that film, consistently. But this one, he's great again. He's great in Strikes Again, of course. So yeah, I think Peter Sellers, once again, absolutely just brilliant in this film. It really has it's a bit more over the top. This is definitely, as the franchise went underway, a lot more. Many staples, of traditional franchise film coming about here, disguises and stuff. And actually, yes, it has to be really be compared to Bond. I think this one maybe not quite as much, but certainly the next two as well. They go a bit more kind of Roger Moore-esque Bond films. But this one, it definitely has stuff in there very similar to some of the Bond films, and stuff, which is good and bad. Not necessarily bad, but not that original really. But yes, basically the gadgets, the disguises, and just some of the general stuff in the film. And just some of the more leaning towards spy elements in this and stuff. And yeah, of course it does kind of lean towards Bond stuff. These next few, certainly Revenge of the Pink Panther. It really goes full on with that. But yes, this one actually manages to balance out some definite over the top stuff, which allows it doesn't break the tone really too much, because the tone is Really, really consistent actually, and it's just well balanced overall. Edwards, really, really good direction here, I think. But yeah, he balances out that with the subtle humour, just the patience, and the comic timing that is just really, really well thought out. Definitely lacking in revenge, for sure. But yes, this one, it's kind of a really, really interesting mix between kind of the over the top nature, certainly of the ones afterwards, and the kind of subtleties and kind of more grounded, kind of balanced out of the previous ones, especially Shot in the Dark. I wasn't a massive fan of the first Pink Panther film before Shot in the Dark, but this one, it really is, you could say mostly I do love the film. The main flaw really, Christopher Plummer's, kind of subplot with of course, as the Phantom. A couple of things here, where it doesn't quite. I don't really know the kind of overall what it's trying to achieve here. Again, it's slightly convoluted as well, and just a bit flat compared to what the rest of the film is. But just really, I think it's a bit kind of wasted potential there. When you see Plummer towards the end of the film with Sellers as well in the mix, actually got me thinking. Maybe it would have worked better if these two were in the film together more. That would have been really, really good. There's nothing wrong with Plummer's performance really. It's just a character that they don't really know what to do with fully in this film. As one of the hindrances, it does bring the film down. One of the main things actually that kind of brings the film down from being great as a comedy, I think actually overall a great film. It was very, very on the borderline, being great and very good. If it wasn't for this, because it's kind of a bit of a chunk of the film. It's just when them scenes come on, and stuff, and the overall kind of the villain stuff, it is flawed, definitely. It's not that engaging. It has got some good action in there, and actually, of course, the heist at the beginning is really amazing. Really is. The tension in this film, the use of tension is great, and of course, generally the cinematography is really, really nice. I think at times it's great. Really is. The editing, very nice flow there. Of course, and just wonderful use of locations, especially as well. I love the kind of the teaming of some of these side characters in the second half of the film. That of course, Clouseau comes across, and yes, Clouseau in this film, again a bit more different to A Shot in the Dark and the one before that, of course, Pink Panther. The accent again is very, it's tweaked and it's not quite as perfected as it is in Strikes Again, because of course they went for a more over the top, kind of exaggerated accent in this film, and the later ones as well. Well, Revenge again is even more so a change, and of course he's doing many, many different things in there. I think they're a bit desperate at that point, just to kind of. Yeah, it was a shame that film, rewatching it. But Strikes Again is really the perfected version of this, stuff, the very, very exaggerated accent, mannerisms. But again, this is really great. Of course, the performance of Sellers is once again striking. His timing, his presence, just how, kind of lovable, his character is, of course, and also just hilarious. This film is hilarious, really, whenever Sellers is on screen. The material here, the writing is really, really amazing most of the time. And again, it's just mainly this kind of villain stuff that doesn't quite work as well as it should. And yeah, of course, as it goes more over the top of this franchise with this film, again, it's kind of a point where, some over the top stuff can be very, very, funny, can be hilarious when done well. But again, it goes, there's always kind of flaws with this type of stuff, where it is a bit too far at times. It's very, very hard to kind of control this, basically, in all of the film, and it doesn't quite get controlled enough at moments. It does go a bit too far and kind of, I just thought, a bit stupid, doesn't quite work. It breaks the kind of the believability. But yes, I think overall, very, very good film. This is a film that I pretty much love. If you take away the kind of subplot with the diamonds and everything, and the villains, the kind of Plummer is not entirely the villain. I'm not going to ruin it, but yes, all that kind of stuff. I didn't dislike it. I just thought it's kind of a bit flat and a bit kind of wasted potential there, and just not quite as funny or as engaging in general as the rest of the film, and just as something kind of as cinema. It's not that engaging, but it's fine. And yes, I think overall we'll wrap up there. This film is actually one of the best Pink Panther films, and I have to give it and 85%. So it's kind of dead in the middle there of the kind of very goods. I think, as I say, most of the film, especially if you exclude the Plummer subplot, the Phantom, the stuff there, it is great, you could say. Certainly very, very good, very close to great. It has so many kind of genius moments again with Sellers, the timing, just the whole feel of this film as well. It's got this kind of relaxed feel at times, but again, very, very thrilling and stuff, and great action in there as well at times. It's just a very, very nostalgic film, one where, of course, the comedy and all the kind of the charm of it is present throughout most of the film. Sellers, of course, absolutely amazing in this film. Clouseau, I love what they've done with Clouseau and Dreyfus. This is really, you could say, at its height in terms of just how kind of compelling it is and stuff. And yeah, maybe a shot in the dark as well. But I think with Herbert Lom, in this film and what they've done with Dreyfus and Clouseau, it's really at its height. You could say, and of course that's when things start to change. He's locked up and he's stuff, and then things you could say are reset in Revenge. Of course they didn't really care. I don't think too much with that one with the continuity, but I think yes, this is where it's kind of you could say at its height, and it's just really, really amazing most of the time. With that, and I just think again the first half an hour, and then again sustained sequences and stuff for the rest of the film are great. It does have some sags here and there, the kind of subplot, as I've said. And yeah, it doesn't, it has got some flaws with the over-the-top nature of the film. It does, at times, go a bit too far to be called perfect. It has got some flaws in there, definitely. More so than A Shot in the Dark, that was almost a flawless film, really, in the comedy. And yes, I think that was definitely the best. This one, it's definitely... It's one of the best Pink Panther films. I pretty much love the film for the most part. Just it has got some flaws, and that the villain subplot I didn't really care for too much, and stuff. But Plummer as well, just didn't get enough to do there. I think it was mainly the kind of unrealised character in this film, the Phantom. But yes, it has got a really good ending again, and I love Kato in the film. Sellers, of course, amazing as always, and yes. Well, not as always, actually, rewatching Revenge of the Pink Panther, unfortunately. But that's my review, wrap up there. And yes, of course I'll be reviewing the next few over the next couple of days as well. And yeah, tell me your thoughts, of course, in the comments. And thanks for watching my review.